Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name's Dave and this is Dave Does Delivery. And I'm back with another video today where we're talking about all things delivery methods. And the video is creatively titled The Problem with Delivery Methods, which I hope we'll get into in a lot more detail. So, we're all delivery people, and there are tons, dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of delivery methods, approaches, frameworks and ideas that we can use to help us make more of a decent fist of delivery. And it's really tempting to think of those delivery methods as looking at something a little bit like this. And here you can see we've got our delivery methods in a bit of a box. Nice and neat, nice and separate, all labeled, and they've all got fairly rigid boundaries around them. And you can sort of see, well, this is the Scrum area of the toolkit, this is the Kanban area of the toolkit, and this is where project management lives. So when you've got a problem, all you do is come to this toolbox, pick out the right tool for the job, and you get the job done. And that's really comforting. That's really straightforward, and that really gives a lot of delivery people a lot of confidence. Unfortunately, though, it's rarely the way it works in the real world. You'll typically get some success with your method of choice, but eventually you'll run up against the boundaries or the limitations of that in your specific context. And then you need to change things to do a little bit more. In real terms, the landscape of approaches and methodologies probably look something a little bit more like this. I'll preface this up front. This is not meant to be an exact mapping of how all of these delivery approaches, ideas, and techniques fit together. But it's very much of a mishmash more like this. Everything sort of flowing into each other, things inheriting from different methods, sharing shared values, principles, practices, and then having differentiators in their own right. And this, I think, is a more realistic assessment of how these tools really look and how they really fit together. There are distinctions between them, but there's a lot of shared ideas and shared concepts and shared practices between them as well, which makes it much more difficult to pick out the individual tool for the individual job that you've got at hand. And in most organizations I've been part of, what we call the approach is really what we are naming this sort of mishmash of ideas, tools, practices, and principles that were brought together from disparate other ideas. And you'll see this in a lot of different ways. You'll see Scrum teams that lean on Kanban principles or Kanban metrics. You'll see project management approaches and project managers who try and bring more agile principles into their work. And you'll also see lean or historical lean Six Sigma projects that try and bring in more of the modern flow metrics and DevOps approaches. And ultimately, I don't think this is a bad thing. I think this is a really good thing. What this shows you is these teams, these professionals, these practitioners are running up against the limitations of the standard methods as they are off the shelf, and they're trying to adapt those to give them better results in the context that they're working. And typically, we're looking for a collection of similar things. Things like closer customer collaboration, faster feedback, quicker time to value. All of these things are good in and of themselves, and it's no surprise to me that we lean on separate methods or different methods that are trying to achieve the same things, just in slightly different ways. Now, the reason I think this matters is because it leads to what I call the purity trap or the framework trap, where instead of thinking about how regularly are your team delivering value to customers, are you getting more and more value delivered over time, you start thinking about things like how well are we embodying the Scrum framework? How well are we embedding a Kanban system? How true to life are we in terms of the PMBOK as a project management outfit? And while these can be helpful sort of milestones, helpful lines in the sand to assess how you're progressing and the types of practices that you're leveraging, ultimately, these are not the things that are going to move the needle in terms of getting value into the hands of customers or delighting your customers with your delivery performance. The headline point around all of this is, I think that frameworks, approaches, methodologies can give you a really solid structure and a starting point, but they don't give you the brain power to apply those in your specific context. So while that structure can be helpful, it's far from the finished product in terms of you creating high-performing teams, regularly delivering value to customers, and expanding this. So what you might ask yourself is, if work approaches or delivery approaches change, evolve, and grow based on the context of the realm, what can we use to help us select the right tools or the right approaches from within those frameworks? And I love to talk about a tool called the Stacy Matrix. You can see that on screen now. And the Stacy Matrix is a really good sort of yardstick or a measuring point for understanding, based on the type of problem that you're trying to solve, what type of approaches or what type of tools, techniques, and practices could be helpful for you to solve the problem that's in front of you. I'm going to put a big label on this more or less straight away. This is not a framework picker. It isn't as simple as, oh, our work seems to be complex, we will therefore use Scrum forever. Our work looks to be a lot more routine and straightforward. Let's use a predictable life cycle of project management to get this done. This is not as simple as X equals Y. This is another tool that you can use to inform your thinking and as a seasoned and experienced practitioner to give you more and more chance of getting the right solution or getting there quicker. The Stacy matrix is really useful because it forces you to ask two questions. Number one is, how clear is the work? And number two is, how clear is the solution? And depending on that, different behaviors, different practices, and different tools make more sense for the problems you're trying to solve. For simple work where you've got a clear problem and a clear solution, you want sort of robust methods, you want to lean on best practice, you'll likely want a level of repeatability, standards, and efficiency baked into your ways of working. Whereas if you're looking at something that's more complicated than simple, your working solutions are likely to require some expertise. You'll need good judgment, you'll need good experience, you'll need the level of planning and that specialist knowledge to really leverage the tools available to you to make the best fist of the problem that you're trying to fix. Similarly, in complex work, where more is unknown than what is known, you'll need to leverage learning as you go. You'll need to derive some of that learning from direct experience by running experiments, by getting outputs in front of customers and deriving some level of feedback. Learning needs to be big into your ways of working cycles to operate effectively within that level of complexity. So I hope you can see how the Stacy matrix doesn't necessarily tell you which approach to pick or which approach will get you the results you're looking for on your project, product, or delivery initiative. But what it does do is give you some helpful introspective questions you can ask to shape your delivery method around the organization you're working in, the team you're working on, the product or the project that you're part of, and the type of work that is baked into that to give you more and more optionality in terms of the type of ideas, strategies, and tools you can bring to bear on that particular problem. Unfortunately, though, the Stacy matrix is not an infallible tool. And it falls victim to a very similar problem that you'll see in delivery methods, where some teams select Scrum and think they're going to stick with it forever. Some teams will look at their work on a Stacy matrix, decide it's more or less complex, and stick to that complex label no matter what. Ultimately, though, work and the type of work that you do evolves and changes, especially over time and across verticals and environments. The Stacy matrix is not a one-and-done type activity. It's very much an activity that you should revisit, and you should sort of try and dissect the work that you're doing. It's very rare that all the work you'll do will be highly complex. There's likely a mix or a spread between complex, complicated, simple, and chaotic levels of work. And you need to select the right tool for the right job, for the right subset of tasks that you're working on as part of that overall delivery initiative. This isn't to say that you won't have a tendency or a preference or something that fits more of the bill than others, but generally it's very rare that all of your work is going to sit in one section of that Stacy matrix and stay there for the duration of that delivery initiative. And I know that sports analogies are really laboured in agile and delivery conversations, but this is one that I really can't resist. And it's where football really helps. It's very rare that a player will play exactly the same way over the lifespan of their career. Typically, they'll move between clubs, they'll come into contact with different teammates, they'll be asked to play in different systems and different positions. And all of that changes the way that that player plays. You as a delivery professional should take some level of confidence and a bit of a steer from that, depending on the team, the organization, the environment, the products, the projects, the initiatives that you're part of. Your approach to delivering value and getting results into the business should change and grow in line with the constraints around you. One of my favorite players ever, Wayne Rooney, I think is a great example of this. In his younger days at Everton, he was a really raw talent, endless energy, used to go on the pitch and just make things happen. As he transitioned into his career at Manchester United, he played all sorts of different roles, especially when other players joined the team, like Carlos Tevez, Cristiano Ronaldo, and the existing team that he joined from his Everton teammate. The expectations and the role that was built for him changed quite a lot. And even after Manchester United, when he went to a team like Derby, his role changed again. He dropped in a lot more, set up a lot of play, did a lot of the interlinking work between the front and the middle of the park. And I think that this type of journey is something that you can take a lot of lessons from as a delivery professional, not only as you get older and more experience in your career, but as the team that you're playing for, i.e. the team that you're part of, the organization that you're part of, or the problems that you're trying to solve change. Your approach to delivering value and your approach and tools and practices and frameworks should also evolve and flex with that. And this, I hope, is the point at which this video turns from a bit of a critique to more of an empowerment message. Because ultimately, if our frameworks, approaches, and methodologies all adapt, if our work evolves over time, and if we all agree that there is no one perfect method to getting results across contexts and environments, You as a delivery professional are therefore not there to operate a framework. You're not there to run Scrum. You're not there to defend Kanban. You're not there to implement project management as closely to the PMBOK as you can. What you're there to do is pick the best of all of these approaches for the specific problem that you have in front of you to deliver the best results that you can for your client, customers, and hiring organization. Your value isn't in knowing the rules or knowing the playbook backwards. Your value is in things like, I can make really good decisions in complex environments. I can enable learning cultures that thrive in complexity. I can read what's happening in various work initiatives that I'm part of. And I can interpret signals from the work as we are performing it that allow me to course correct and tweak things to ensure that our results continue to improve as time goes on. And this comes back to one of my hot takes that I think I'm going to print on the t-shirt at one point, that frameworks are really good starting points. They are horrible endpoints in the majority of cases. So if you're still doing Scrum by the book 2 or 3 years in, you've probably missed the point. These frameworks are great for getting you off and running, for getting a good starter for 10 in place. But if you want adapting them, if you want evolving them, if you want tweaking things as time goes on, you're probably doing yourself a little bit of a disservice in the long run. And that's not only in terms of the projects and the organizations that you're part of. Think of this in terms of your career and the lifespan of your career as a delivery professional. You'll learn a lot more, develop a lot more skills, and develop a lot more expert level judgment by running these tweaking, experimentation cycles within your delivery initiatives, within your projects, within your product development initiatives, that you can then lean on further into your career. And that will help you become a more well-rounded, robust delivery practitioner. You'll also then be able to bring other junior, novice, and developing practitioners along for the journey with you. And this should open the door to bigger and better things later in your career if you've got ambition to either starting your own thing, of developing within your current organization, or taking on more responsibility within another organization. This experimentation approach, instead of being that Scrum Master off the shelf, that project manager from the PMBOK, that Kanban practitioner from the Kanban guide, should stand you in far better stead. And if you're looking for a bit of concrete advice that you can take away and leverage in the real job next week, there are 3 really good sort of concentrating questions that you can ask yourself and within the team to understand what it is you need to do to get better results in terms of your delivery approach and your delivery system. Question number 1 is, what is this work asking for right now from the team? Is it stability? Is it predictability? Is it discovery? Is it delivery? And based on that, you can identify the area that needs most attention from you and what you can rebuild around to give more value to your customers and stakeholders. Question number 2 that goes hand in hand with that is, what is our most limiting constraint at the moment? Anyone who's read any books like The Goal or done any string on the theory of constraints, this I hope will be familiar to you. But understanding what the most demanding constraint is at the time is really helpful for you again to understand where you can best direct your efforts, whether that's quality, speed, throughput, stakeholder collaboration. What is the one thing that's slowing us down or hurting us more than anything at the moment where you can come in and relieve some of that pain? And then the third question is, what is the team's biggest core strength as of today? And what I'm not talking about here is what's listed in the team CVs, what's written in the organization chart, what other people think that they are. Based on your observations, based on any one-to-ones you've ran, based on any sessions like retrospectives that you ran within this team, what do you see as this team's core strength? And then think about how we can lean into that. How can we make more of it? How can we get more value from that core competency that this group has? This is typically a better way to get started delivering more value than trying to build in something brand new. Looking at ways that you can refit and adjust the current strengths of the team to do more with less. And I'd really hope that those 3 questions will take you a lot further than questions like, should we use Scrum or Kanban? Is this a project management project or is this a Kanban project? Because ultimately those questions, while somewhat useful, they're the wrong questions. The main question is, how do we get the best value for the time and cost invested into this initiative? And thinking about those 3 core questions, I think, can give you a lot more idea fodder and a lot more value than a framework selection in and of itself. The biggest problem with delivery frameworks for me isn't that we've got too many to pick from. It's that we try and outsource a lot of our thinking and decision-making to these frameworks. Delivery approaches overlap because reality overlaps, and learning changes our understanding of the terrain as we go. None of these are bad things. Look at this as an empowering message for you as a practitioner to use more of your judgment, experience, skills, and knowledge to deliver more value to your stakeholders, customers, and users by tweaking, experimenting, and adjusting your delivery patterns, your delivery strategies, and your delivery vehicles to get more of that value into the hands of those people. And I hope that that's good news for most of you. I hope that's a really empowering message that you are not there to operate a framework by the book. You're there to give a level of judgment, a level of expertise, to run experimentation cycles. And you're there to help these teams, not as a parrot from the Scrum Guide, a parrot from a Kanban guide, a parrot from a PMBOK, as a skilled professional who's building their own knowledge and skills as they go to continually elevate the capability of the team. And this is what I really like about an approach or a role like delivery manager. This puts you very firmly back into the driving seat, not the framework, not the playbook, not the ways of working, not your certification. You as an expert level delivery guru, delivery operator, delivery practitioner, making decisions in the best interest of the team, the organization, and the customers at the far end of your delivery process. And for me, that's what makes delivery interesting. I really don't think I'd be happy as a delivery manager if I were just coming in there to operate a framework by the book and make sure that rules were being followed. I really think you'll derive a lot more rich experience, skill development, and ultimately enjoyment and fulfillment in your role by taking this kind of approach and being that standard framework operator. I really hope this video has been helpful. If it resonated, please drop a comment or a like below and let me know what you thought. I'm hoping I'll be able to do more and more videos like this on real delivery challenges and how you can overcome those. So please get in touch if you've got anything that you want me to have a look at in a future video. And thank you very much for checking this out, guys. Thanks all.